Okay, your book. Okay, we're up to Perek. Hey, you have to actually take one of the Tanakhs here because there's one right behind me. Shmuel Perek. It's a small chapter, but it is well, we're continuing the saga because each chapter builds upon the previous one. So as we had seen last time that the ark was taken captive. So now the question is, what happens when you get the Ark of the Covenant? What do you do with it? So you make a movie, you take it to a secluded island, and you have some sort of ritual, and then everybody dies. And then it ends up in a warehouse in Arizona, in Area 52, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. So the Plishtim, they take the Aron. So it says in Perek, Uplishtim lachu es Aron ha'elokim, vayiviuhu me'even ha'ezer Ashdoda. So the Philistines, they took the Ark of Hashem, they brought it from Evan Ezra to Ashdod. As we know, just in Hebrew grammar, when you add a hey, it means El Ashdod, you say Ashdoda, right? Vayikhu Plishtim es Aron ha'elokim ve'aviu also beis Dagon, vayatzigu also etzel Dagon. The Plishtim took the Ark of God and brought it to the house of Dagon, placing it next to Dagon. Now, it's interesting to point out why it has to repeat this. It says that they took the Aron Elokim, and the next pasuk says, and they took the Aron Elokim. And we'll see it's going to kind of go back and forth because there's actually two sort of episodes that are running side by side here. They're not exactly in chronological order, which is not terribly uncommon, but it's worth pointing out because of the the way it's structured. Vayashkimu Ashdodim imacharas, v'hinei Dagon nofel lefanav arts lifnei Aron Hashem, vayichu es Dagon vayashivu asolim kamo. So Ashdod was one of the five cities of the Plishtim. We know the Philistines had five cities: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, Gat, and Aza. And right now, Gat, for instance, Kiryat Gat, Karmel Gat, very, very popular place for Americans to move because, everything's just getting more and more expensive. And now with the shekel being so strong, it's just even more expensive. So the real estate market is having a tough time right now. But, the economy is doing well, but everybody else is suffering. Okay. The Ashdod, of course, people know. Ashkelon, we know these port cities, but they say that so because on the coastal area where the Philistines were and the whole Gaza area, so some speculate that the word Dagon is their god had some sort of fish-like form to it, like Dag, because they were ultimately fishermen. Others say that it's like the word Dagan, that they were some sort of grain, whatever. But they had some sort of getchka, okay? And they have this. They. So what do you do when you capture like the ark? So maybe they were putting like your God next to my God. Let's see if they get along, or I'll show you the conquered God versus our God. Whatever it is, they they the way they bring it to Beis Dagon, which is their house of worship, their house of avodah zarah, but Vayatzigo also Eitzel Dagon. So then they put it next to Dagon.
Is Dagon the god?
Yes. So the Eitzel is not Lifnei. Eitzel is Aliyad, is next door. Okay. So they're putting them side by side, maybe to perk them up, or I mean, they definitely have some. I don't use the word reverence, but they know what they have. There's something. There's something to it. What they have this ark, and then what happens in the morning is that they wake up in the morning, but the Dagon is nofel lifanav arta lifnei Aron Hashem. Look at the specificity of the word. If you're sitting next to somebody and then you fall down, you're not falling in front of them, you're falling next to them, either backwards or forwards. But somehow this Dagon falls lifnei, and notice the twice it says nofel lifanav, falls in front of it, lifnei Aron Hashem, in front of the ark of God. So if you came in the morning and you see your idol falls down and it's in an unnatural position, meaning it's not the way, no, they didn't watch CSI for all those years and like figure out the angles and this and that. Okay, so how do you account for that? What would you do? So here it just says not. Yeah, well they pick it up and put it back. Like who is it? Like the custodian? I mean, so my biggest fear always is, and every rabbi has this fear, is of a Sefer Torah falling. Chas v'shalom. It's like a big fear. It's one of the reasons actually that when we lane, we have one person on each side. I know it's supposed to recreate. If according to halacha, technically you only need one person. You want to recreate the giving of the Torah at Sinai. There's Hashem, there's Moshe, there's the Torah. Okay, that's one of the reasons. Who's Hashem, which is Moshe? I don't know. Is it the Ola? Is it the person reading? It used to be that there was only a person reading. There was never an Ola. The person who got the Aliyah used to read the Aliyah, and somebody else. But nowadays we have two people. And one of the very practical reasons is that when somebody unrolls the Torah, you want to have a barrier there. You want to have some sort of buffer. When we have the way the arcs are constructed, some of these, the way the Aron Kodeshes are designed, you're like thinking like, how do they get to the ones that are really up there? It's like how do they reach those? Um, and you want to have make sure you have a proper lip on the bottom to catch the legs, or even some sort of. We're sugar about these things, obviously, because you see Sefer Torah falls down. It's a very scary thing. So this the God falls down on the floor. Okay, and what happens? Vayishivos Olam Kamo. Okay, put it back. No reaction. No. Okay. I mean, maybe it was just the custodian. Do you remember that cartoon, the Far Side? That's great. I love the Far Side because it's just like distorted humor. I guess maybe I could relate. Gary Larson, and they they show like a guy who's on the hospital bed, and the guy cleaning up every day, and he would just come and he would just unplug all the machines to like plug in his vacuum. Like the guy's on life support or something. Well, oh my gosh, right? So yeah, it's like nothing. Maybe it's just yeah, and he always had the same looking character, like a big whistle and these big mouth, like that. So. That's what they put him back. Next pasuk dalid. Vayashkimu baboker mimacharas. V'hinei dagon nofel lefanav arza lifnei Ron Hashem. It happens again. They wake up. Now, by the way, this is not one person. It's vayashkimu, and they woke up. So they're coming in for hashkama minyan, and right they come for chakras and they see gaval, and they come again. And not only that, the gun is nofel lefanav. It's falling down in front of him. Lifnei in front of the ark again in unnatural position. Virosh dagon ushte kapos yadav krusos el hamiftan rak dagon nishar olav. Agevalt. Now, what's happening this time? The dagon's head and the two palms of its hand were severed, lying upon the threshold. Only the body remained intact, which tells you that maybe this is why some people think it's maybe not a fish, because a fish doesn't really have hands. I don't know. But who knows? This could be anything. Who knows what it is? But this is a little bit more like, hello, I sent you the boat, I sent you the plane, I sent you the helicopter, right? Uh, so his hands are cut off, and he's just a body. Okay, so now what should the reaction be? Before we go further, now the reaction should be, okay, this is something unusual happening here. Maybe it's not the gon is the issue, maybe it's the ark is the issue, maybe we're doing something wrong, maybe we should get a clue. I don't know. Okay. It's kind of sort of a little bit reminds us of the story of Avraham and Terach. Remember Avraham and Terach, and Avraham is watching the store, and Terach goes out, the idol store, and Terach says, and he comes back, and the idols are all smashed up, and he's like, "What happened?" Well, one idol started with fighting with the other one, and he's like, "Come on, does your mouth hear? Does your ears hear what your mouth is saying? Of course, it's not possible. They can't fight with each other." So Avram says to his father, taste the soup." You know what that is? Taste the soup, right?
Mm.
Okay, Baruch Hashem. Thank God.
Nothing else we know from you, by the way.
Okay, thank God, thank God. So he's like, okay, that's it. But here, so what do they do? Al kain lo yidruchu kohanei dagon v'chalabim beit dagon al miftan dagon b'ashdod ad hayom hazeh. So therefore, all the priests of Dagon and all those who come to the house of Dagon, they don't go into this room anymore until this day. In other words, what they did is they sanctified the place. Instead of realizing that something unusual happened here, instead of figuring out what really took place, they even more so enshrined it in such a way that now you can't even go in there. Now, is this because they can't go in because we don't want anybody to see any more funny business? Or no, it seems to be that when it says al kain, usually that means that you can't, there's an elevated status right here. Let me open the door. Okay, so it's like I didn't get your attention the second time. So now what happens is, good morning. And by the way, this is in the house of Dagon. Now we're going back, and this explains why it had the two The Aron was taken and went to Ashdod and went to Dagon. Now in Pasuk Vav, it's kind of going back to the first Pasuk in the chapter. Vatichbad Yad Hashem el ha'ashdodim v'yasimeim. Vayach osam. Now notice here we have what's called a Creek sieve, which happens all the time in Tanakh, where a word is written one way and it is read a completely different way. This is one of the more unusual ones because it's not a Greek sieve in the sense sometimes we have a yud, a missing yud. This word is not even close. It's a different word entirely that is written in the Tanakh. We have an instance of this actually in the Torah, this exact word, because the word is we read it batichorim, but the word is, you notice I don't know if they have vowelization on there. Here, usually when they have a Greek sieve, they just take out the vowels, ba'apolim, or something like that. And but the people in Ashdod are struck with techorim es Ashdod veskuleha. They all have techorim. So here, I don't know what your translation is here. What?
How would you know that it's read different? Like, there's no parentheses.
Let me see. Oh, yours is written. Oh, so you see here. So you see here, you have a little asterisk, and at the bottom it says Batechorim Kri. Now, you're right. How do we know when I have a Sefer Torah scroll? How do I know? Or I have a Sefer Rus or a Megillah. So we have what's called a Masorah. So we have the Masoretic text. We have a tradition that's handed down for many, many, many years. Obviously, since Moshe Rabbeinu at Sinai, that's the way a scroll is written, and that's the way a scroll is read. Okay? Not even the same word. Different word. Most of the time, a Greek sieve is like who and he. It's written who, spelled he, like or missing above, something like that. This exact word, though, I'll tell you what it is in a second. It's going to be very unpleasant. But this is actually found in the Tochacha in Devarim. In the Tochacha, in the terrible punishments, it says that you're going to be struck with this terrible disease. The reason why it's written one way and pronounced a different way really is because we want to say it like nicely.
So is buffalo even a word?
Apparently it is. So
it's used today.
yes. So which means it's hemorrhoids of some sort or some sort of difficulty. Rashi. Okay, Rashi says cholet, karkasha, makasa nekev. It's some sort of hemorrhoidal discomfort, something that has to do with that area, which is but then he says this. If that's not enough for you, okay. I hope nobody's eating right now. Achbarim nichnosam b'nikvehem v'shomtim b'nei me'ehem v'yotzeim. Some sort of rodents would enter into the cavity. It would take out their intestines and then leave. Now that's pretty bad.
Think of the rectum.
Yes.
Would enter their recta, disembowel them, and crawl out.
There you go. I don't know about you, but that's pretty gosh darn awful. Okay, I don't wish that upon anybody. Let's hope that nobody has that. Mazel tov! I heard the wonderful news just now. Amazing. Your son got engaged. Wonderful. So so no correlation between son getting engaged and what we're discussing. Just saying. But somehow these creatures would disembowel, or I don't know what the word is, but it's bad. So apparently the word, again, I don't know the ba'afalim or batcharim, but in the Tochacha, we actually have this Greek sieve. It is an excellent question about how we know, but that's part of the Masorah that we have. So the people of Ashdod, when they have the Aron, they realize this is happening. Like, okay, this is not a coincidence, and it's not just me. It's a lot of people are having this because it's Ashdod v'chol gvuleha. So they say, "Vayiru anshe Ashdod." So they saw what was going on, and it is not good. V'amru lo yeshev Aron Elokei Yisrael imanu ki kashta yado aleinu v'al dagon Eloheinu. So they say the ark of the God of Israel shouldn't stay with us because his hand has been hard against us. So maybe they see what happened with the house of Dagon, and they see what's happening here, and it's against us and against. And by the way, just to show you, Perek, just to show you how hard it is to kind of change your way of thinking is they say, yeah, the ark of the God of Israel is too hard for us to have here. It's too much of a punishment for us, but also what it did to us, and also Va'al Dagon Eloheinu. and also Dagon, our God. Still referring to Dagon as meaning Dagon's been knocked over twice, beheaded, behanded. I don't know if that what the word is. But and they still say Eloheinu. By the way, when you say Eloheinu in this sense, it's not you don't say Elokeinu, you say Eloheinu because it's not referring to Hashem, it's referring to their God. So that's their God, right? But they're saying about our God, but mean about their own God, but we're saying about their God. So that's why it's not a sacred name. It's not if these three words were written on a piece of paper, it would not be Seamus. Just saying. If it's written alone, okay. Fine. So what do you do when you realize that okay, it's bad enough the thing falls down and then it falls down again and gets beheaded, but then we get afflicted with this terrible thing. Ay 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 ay. So vayishluchu vayasvus kol sarnei plishtim alehem vayomru mana asel ron alekei Yisrael. So they summon and they gathered all the governors of the Philistines to them, and they say, okay, well, we got a problem. What are we going to do? What should we do with the ark? You want the ark? You want the ark? You want the ark? So Vayomru, they answered, Gat Yisov Aron Elokei Yisrael, Vayasebus Aron Elokei Yisrael. So they said, okay, move it to a different city. We'll move it now to Gat. Let them take care of it. So they bring the ark, they bring the Aron to Gat. Now, you could probably guess what happens. You got it. That's right. Vayhi acharei hesavu oso vatihi yad Hashem ba'ir mehuma gedola ma'od. Vayach es anshei ha'ir mikaton v'ad gadol vayishasru lehem. Here it is again to Chorim. So after they transferred it, the hand of Hashem is set against the city, causing a great mehuma, is a great commotion. We saw this in the story of Sodom, mehuma, and they are struck with this affliction again, from small to large. Again. Vayachas Ansheir Mikatona Gadol, also in the story of Sodom. In the story of Sodom, when the angels were there and Lot was hosting them, it says also Migadol Va'ad Katon. We have this very similar phraseology. And there was a big commotion at the end. If you look in Parshas Vayera, and they are afflicted with this. So this time they don't have a meeting; they're just like, okay, out. So then Vayishalchu es Aron Halakim Ekron. So, people don't learn, but that's human nature, right? I always tell my kids that this is the story of the three people who are sharing a bed, and it was too crowded, so they came to an agreement that one of them would sleep on the floor. And like a half hour later, one guy says, to the guy on the floor, "There's a lot more room now. You want to come back?" So it's silly, but that's human nature. That's how we get. So they just send it now to Ekron. Vayhi kivo Aron Elokim Ekron. Vayizaku Ekronim lemor hisabo Elias Aron Elokei Yisrael amiteni v'sami. At least here they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. The people of Ekron are like, are you trying to kill us? You transferred the ark of God of Israel here. You want to kill us, lahamiteni v'esami? So now they have to have a meeting. Vayishlchu vayasu es kol sarnei Filishtim vayomru shalchu es Aron Elokei Yisrael v'yashuv l'nkomo v'lo yamis asi v'sami ki haysa mehumas maves b'chol ha'ir kavda ma'od yad ha'elokim sham. So they have to have a meeting of all the Makanimuks. So they have all the governors of the Plishtim, and they said, send the ark away, the ark of the God of Israel. Let it go back. And I don't want it to kill my people because there's panic. You can imagine it's the whole the plague is coming, right? Now, we used to not be able to relate to this so much, but I think since COVID, the idea of something coming our way, we panic. We didn't know what we're panicking about, but when we look back at it, we maybe had we known a little more, we would have done things differently. But we didn't know. We just didn't know, and it was just we had a whole conversation about it this week on Shal Shudas. But I've blocked a lot of that out of my head. A lot of it, but just because we didn't know, people, I'm spraying down my Amazon packages and who knows what. Nothing made sense, and nothing was no rhyme or reason. We were discussing how there was one year I don't know if you probably had this that in our kids' class that if there was a kid in the class who had it, the relatives they had missed Yom Kippur.
That
we showed up and we were sent home.
Yeah.
So showed up at the tent and they're like, you can't be here, you can't be
Yeah.
here. There was like half the shul was gone.
The rabbi missed. The rabbi missed Yom Kippur.
I'm sure
Yeah.
I missed it also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried. I couldn't pull it up again. But yeah, I mean, there was like but there's panic. Because when panic, so they're like, there's a panic over, and they're like, wait a minute, because why? Because now that the hand of God is very heavy, now they feel it. Now they sense it. V'anashim asher lo mesu huku b'tchurim, v'tal shavas ir shamayim. So the people who did not die, at least they got the hemorrhoids, they got this, and the outcry of the city ascended to heaven. So it's a very brief, interesting chapter. Okay, I'll share with you some of these really, really fascinating insights. I told you about the God. Um, do-do-do-do-do-do.
Is that the new part?
This is Rav Bazak's interpretation. The Shmuel base just came out a couple weeks ago. Koren has done amazing things. By the way, if you haven't seen the Koren, we have a few of them here. The Koren Chumash
They just finished Devar.
is amazing. No, the one volume has everything. The Koren, like it's the new Shul volume. They're trying to replace I shouldn't say replace, but they're trying to make their own version of sort of like we have the Stone Chumash. So they had, remember growing up, we had the Hertz Chumash, which wrote in a language that nobody understood. I don't know about you. When I was bored in Shul, I had to read it. I got more bored. Yeah, I don't know what that is. And then the Stone Chumash came out, which is a huge innovation. It was a great thing. So then Korah now finally came out this year, and I have this. It's all the way on the third shelf in the bottom on the left.
Red and blue?
The red and blue. You can pull one out. You take a look. It is huge. It's big. It's really, really big. Yeah, and it's heavy. It's heavy, but it has the commentary in the bottom, like this. In the bottom is Rabbi Sachs. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Okay? First of all, it has Rashi, it has Onkelos. My apologies to my friends at Koran who are definitely not watching this.
It's really nice and big.
Very nice, but the Rashi print is horrific. The Rashi script, I can't. It's not. You'll see. Anyway, it is Rashi. It's just not. It's their own specific Rashi font that they use. Yeah, I don't like it. Has Nikudot. Really, it's a beautiful volume. If you want to get somebody a gift, by the way, it's probably retailing for about between $40 and $50, maybe even $54.99, depending if you get. Actually, right now, Shavua Sefer right now, Koren has a sale. Today might be like they have a sale. You can look online, or it's at all the stores. But
it's not their first Chumash.
No. It's their 92nd Chumash that they made. But it's their one volume. It's their this is the Shul Chumash. This is it. Not really. They did individual volumes, and they did.
Okay, in Israel, they take.
They have some.
The little one, that is
That's
bad.
very.
They have that, but that's no.
That's
But-
Very.
Right. So that was just the text. Had no interpretations.
But the thing that the font is so much bigger by definition, it's going to be so many more pages, but it's a nice size.
Okay, so I had so
Great.
let me tell you.
And it's very-
Let me tell you about the secret, though. The secret is this is it, by the way. Here it goes. The secret I'm going to tell you is that they also published a version. It's about 2/3 of the size. Does not have the Rashi and Onkelos. It just has the Chumash and Rabbi Sachs's commentary. That's really cool. If we don't want to, you don't need, nobody uses the Shulchan Chumash for Rashi necessarily. So if you want to use just Rabbi Sachs, it's about 2/3 of the size of that. Really, really nicely done. And they also created one that has they have on each page they have like a topic and have just a few mefarshim that they pick, and it has like per topic on each page. It's called the Koran for Malamdim or something. It's really they have phenomenal stuff. I could.
Speaking of the Devarim just came out. The biblical Chumash.
Oh yeah. That's with the maps and all that. Yeah. The land of Israel one. It's Koran. Yeah. It's Koran Maga.
I want to get this, the Koran with just Rabbi Sachs. What do I look for?
I'll show you. I will show you. We'll look after class. I'll show you. Show you exactly what you want. They publish these Maggid books, this whole series on Tanakh, which is just phenomenal. So Rav Bazak, and it's quoting from a lot of different sources, a lot of scholarly stuff as well. What he writes here about the Kri and the Ksiv, the Kri, the way the word is read, and the Ksiv, the way it's written. which appear 5 times in our story, appear also in, as I said, in Devarim and Deuteronomy. It's part of the general tendency to use clean language for the Pri. Like we say Lashon Nakiya. Okay. Fine. As for the word techorim, it seems to refer to hemorrhoids as in modern Hebrew. It may possibly refer to certain vermin as suggested by the verse below. We'll see in Perek Vav. Okay. But he says here something really interesting. If you had to say like this paralleled something in Chumash, what do you think this might parallel? So he says he draws a parallel to the Makos in Egypt, the plagues in Egypt. I mean, look, right now it's Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. Right now, it's almost Pesach. We gotta start preparing. I mean, summer's basically over. You know my bit.
It's tell me your
Least that was Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, well, Rosh Hashanah, yeah, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is coming. Rosh Hashanah, what's happening? Rosh Hashanah, you'll get out earlier. The first day is no chauffeur. Yeah. And no, it's great. Anybody that has to start a new job this year, they don't have to go on the bus and say, I'm taking the month off.
job.
Yeah. Well, I work on all of them anyways.
Understand, but-
Okay, so look what he says here. It gives an interesting parallels, which I find to be really fascinating. So, both accounts describe plagues that landed upon the enemy of Israel, and they use similar wording. So, regarding the plagues in Egypt, the term vayach appears twice. Okay, vayach with the hail, and vayach he struck the hand. And here it says vayach when it says batechorim. Vayach es anshay ha'ir mikaton v'gadol. Okay, so you have vayach. Both tell us the plagues came from the hand of God. Behold, the hand of God is on your cattle, as we see in the Makkah of Dever. The hand of God here we have in Ashdod. In both cases, the plague struck not only the people, but also their gods. The twofold blow against the Philistines and against their god Dagon was described at length in our chapter. And a parallel phenomenon is found with respect to the plagues in Egypt, and I will execute judgments Elohei Mitzrayim. It also uses the gods of Egypt. In both stories, the time is mentioned in similar fashion. It says, Paro says, get up early in the morning and go strike Paro. And here also, Vayashkem, they got up early in the morning and they see what happened to their God. Both accounts stress the cries of the nation's response to the plagues, and the children of Israel, they sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry rose up. That's actually when they get here, Vatal Shavah Seir, Hashemayim. Here, their cry rises up to the heaven, but in Sefer Shemos, that because of that, they cry up, and Hashem hears them. And then the word Shalach appears twice in the verse. They sent by Yishlachu, and Shalchu, of course, that's a common thing. And he just says that it's possible that even the words of the people of Ekron, they have brought the ark of God of Israel to me to slay me and my people, or send away the ark of the God and let it go back. It's sort of like, allude to the similar words used by Paro when he says, I have sinned this time, God is righteous, I and my people are wicked. Okay? They're trying to figure out a way, how can we mitigate this damage that's done? Obviously, having the ark here, they finally come to the conclusion, this is not good for us. This is not a great situation. Okay, so that's this chapter. It's going to continue. Yes, exactly. It's going to continue into the next Perek in Perek Vav. But on the one hand, whereas the Jewish people sinned, and that's what allowed the ark to be taken. But on the other hand, God doesn't let enemies get away with it either. This is like everybody has to get their share. So, and then you get into the whole conversation about, well, if they're agents of God, how are they allowed to do this, et cetera, et cetera? Does Paro have free choice? The whole Rambam and the Ramban, that whole conversation. Okay, but maybe because they are a little bit arrogant, they're putting it on the pedestal together with God. Maybe if they kept it in a side room or in a closet, they would have had this. Or maybe if they hadn't paraded around, whatever it might be, but thinking that they killed God. There's a famous story where we are coming up to Tisha B'Av, like it or not. I don't like Tisha B'Av, but in the kinos on Tisha B'Av morning, we tell
I'm sorry, who does?
Oh, I know people who do, yeah.
You know, especially.
Yeah. And I always have to be the keynote speaker.
Oh.
Oh, you saw that. That was good. Yeah. And in one of the early keynotes, we say, we tell the story of Titus HaRasha, of Titus. It's based on the Gemara in Gittin, and there's a series of Gemaras in the middle of Gittin called the Tisha B'Av Gemaras, because it's one of the things that you're allowed to study on Tisha B'Av. You're not allowed to study Torah on Tisha B'Av because it makes you happy, just like when somebody's sitting Shiva. Lo Aleinu, you're not allowed to study Torah. You can only study things that pertain to mourning or sad things for the Jewish people, stories of destruction. So in the Tisha B'Av Gemaras, it tells the story of how Titus comes in, and he was given agency to help to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. He destroys the Beis Hamikdash. He gets entry. He goes into the Kodesh Kodashim. He goes into the Holy of Holies, and he brings a harlot with him in the Holy of Holies, and he defiles it in such a way that's just like way beyond too much. And it says that he then takes his sword and he stabs. As you know, in the entrance to the Kodesh Kodashim, there are two curtains. You had to kind of like zigzag through them. It's called the Peruchas. That's why we have a Peruchas covering our ark to mirror that. And he takes his sword and he stabs the Peruchas. And it starts, as you know, Jews don't bleed. What happens when Jews bleed? What do we say?
If you prick me, do I-
No.
do I not bleed?
That's Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice. We're gushing. Oh my God, I'm gushing blood. That's how Jews say. Like if I get a little pinprick, oh my God, I'm gushing. We're very dramatic. That's how we are. So the parucha starts gushing blood. The Gemara says, and blood's pouring out of it. They always sprinkled blood on the parucha, so I don't know. Maybe it was stuck in there. I don't know. But he has this idea that he killed God. He's like, I bested God. Now he's an agent of God ultimately, who was given the ability to show this punishment to the Jewish people, but maybe a little overboard. So, as we shouldn't be completely dismayed that this is allowed to happen, then the Gemara says, well, let me tell you the end of the story. The end of the story, the Gemara says, is that Hashem says, okay, you think you're so mighty, you kill God, I'm going to take my smallest creature, and that's going to be your undoing. And the Gemara says that Hashem caused a gnat, a gnat, to go fly into his nose and lodge itself in his brain. And for years and years, this gnat is eating away at his brain, and it's hammering away. And he said he can't take the noise. At some point, he has to make louder noise. He has a blacksmith to bang a hammer to mitigate the noise that's in his head. Finally, they said he couldn't take it, and he died a slow death over a series of years from this. And they said when they opened up his head, they found the gnat was the size of like a giant egg or olive, or like huge. Huge. You've never seen anything like it. Millions and millions of people never say anything. But so Hashem allows his enemies, our enemies, to punish us, but at the same time, if they go overboard, So there are times like in Nebuchadnezzar actually is afforded a certain amount of honor because he showed respect at some point. So it's a funny thing. But the ark, right? Next time you steal the ark, don't the fact that and the script is very deliberate is that they sort of they didn't get it the first time, they didn't get it the second time, the third time, okay, well, only because you're in a lot of pain, and maybe that's why I'm going to move. And instead of just saying, let's give it back, well, let's just move it somewhere else. And it's a wonderful indication about human nature, is that when we think, oh, if I just put it out of my head, or if I just put it out of my way, then that'll fix the problem. That doesn't necessarily fix the problem, okay? We have to do these things. So that's this Perek Vav here. Just thinking about the next couple weeks. I don't think I do, just because I have to pack trunks and send kids away. My kid's like, you don't know what happens, that when you leave one of the refrigerator, we just turn it into a drink refrigerator. It's just drinks, none of your nonsense, right? Marsha, and. Yeah. Counselor?
Nala will be in the canteen, Ari will be an elephant counselor.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they got a great trip this year.
Yes.
California, like West Coast. Yeah. Yeah. She's yeah. So that's